Where's the Reverend?
He's in there. He's dead.
Before we begin, understand this. The African Queen is not an adventure movie. It's a film about two people who should never have survived, and somehow did. This is a story about endurance under pressure, romance forged in danger, and how chaos stripped people down to who they really were. Let's begin. Fact 1. The film was made where movies were not supposed to survive. Hollywood didn't want Africa. It wanted backlots, controlled lighting, comfort. John Huston refused. He insisted the African Queen be filmed on location in Africa, in unbearable heat, real rivers, real insects, real danger. Studios warned him. Equipment would fail, actors would get sick, production would collapse. Huston didn't care. He believed discomfort would bleed into the performances. He was right. Fact 2. Nearly everyone got sick, except Humphrey Bogart and John Huston. The jungle didn't discriminate. Cast members were hit by malaria, dysentery, severe dehydration. Katharine Hepburn nearly died. Crew members collapsed daily. But two men stayed healthy. Humphrey Bogart, John Huston. Why? They drank only whiskey. Bogart later joked, "I never drink the water. Fish fuck in it." It became legend. But beneath the humor was truth. This film was physically punishing and unforgiving. Fact 3. Katharine Hepburn's role was a complete risk. Rose Sayre wasn't glamorous. She was rigid, judgmental, morally absolute. Hollywood warned Hepburn, "This character will make audiences hate you." She ignored them. Hepburn leaned into Rose's stiffness because it had to break later. The romance only works because the character begins unlikable. That was deliberate. Fact 4. Humphrey Bogart was playing against his entire persona. Bogart was famous for confidence, sharp control, masculine authority. Charlie Allnut was none of those things. He was sloppy, he was drunk, he was afraid. This was not a hero role. It was a survival role. Bogart stripped himself down, physically and emotionally, and let weakness lead the performance. It won him the Oscar, not for charm, for honesty. Fact 5. The river was the real villain. There is no monster in the African Queen, no villain speech, no single enemy. The river is the antagonist. It traps, it moves, it waits. Every decision risks death. The boat doesn't symbolize adventure. It symbolizes uncertainty. You never know what the water will do next. Neither did the actors. What Part 1 really established. This wasn't a controlled production. It was an endurance test, and that endurance became the film's soul. If Part 1 showed how the African Queen survived being made, Part 2 shows how the characters begin to survive each other. Say continue, and I'll deliver. Fact 6. The romance was never written as romance. There is no love story blueprint in The African Queen, no sweeping gestures, no dramatic declarations, no glamorous chemistry tests. The bond forms through shared exhaustion. Rose and Charlie don't fall in love. They stop resisting each other. That's the point. Love arrives not as passion, but as alignment. Fact 7. Rose's moral certainty slowly becomes dangerous. At the beginning, she believes she is right. Right about God, right about behavior, right about purpose. But the river doesn't care. Her certainty becomes a liability. She must choose moral purity or survival. The film doesn't mock her faith, it tests it. And real faith, the film argues, adapts or dies. Fact 8. Charlie's cowardice is not a flaw, it's a defense. Charlie Allnut drinks because fear keeps him alive. He avoids heroism, he avoids responsibility, he avoids conviction. Why? Because conviction gets people killed. His cowardice isn't weakness, it's experience. The film quietly suggests that bravado is more dangerous than fear. Fact 9. The power dynamic completely reverses mid-film. At the start, Rose commands, Charlie obeys. By the middle, Charlie navigates, Rose commits. This reversal is subtle but total. Rose learns to act, Charlie learns to care. Neither dominates by the end. They survive because they balance. Fact 10. The torpedo plan is a metaphor for human desperation. The absurd plan to turn the boat into a weapon isn't heroic, it's insane. 2 civilians, no training, no certainty. But desperation creates imagination. The torpedoes aren't about war, they're about agency. For the first time, Rose and Charlie are choosing action, not reacting. That choice changes everything. Fact 11. The film intentionally lets hope fail. Most adventure films reward effort. The African Queen doesn't. Plans fail, repairs undo themselves, progress reverses. Every time Rose and Charlie believe they've won, the river disagrees. This isn't pessimism, it's realism. The film refuses to promise that effort guarantees success. Sometimes it only guarantees exhaustion. Fact 12. The near-death sequence is about letting go, not dying. When the boat capsizes, something important happens. They stop fighting. No speeches, no panic, no resistance. They accept it. This is not defeat, it's peace. The film suggests that survival sometimes begins after surrender, not before. Fact 13. The proposal happens when survival no longer matters. Charlie's proposal doesn't come at a high point, it comes at the end. No certainty, no future, no reward. That's deliberate. Love, the film argues, isn't a transaction. It's a declaration made when nothing is left to gain. Fact 14. The hanging scene is one of cinema's quietest rejections of war. There is no triumph in their capture, no righteous justice, no moral satisfaction. They're treated as expendable. The war doesn't care about bravery, faith, or love. It only counts bodies. This moment strips war of meaning, without speeches, without outrage, just silence. Fact 15. Survival happens almost by accident. They don't outsmart the enemy. They don't overpower anyone. They survive because timing breaks, systems fail, chaos interrupts control. The torpedoes succeed after they've already accepted death. The film denies the fantasy of control. Survival is not earned, it is granted. What Part 3 really confronts. This is no longer an adventure, it's a meditation on limits. Limits of faith, limits of courage, limits of intention. By now, Rose and Charlie are no longer trying to win. They are simply trying to be honest with each other one last time. The African Queen doesn't promise triumph. It promises something rarer, connection without illusion. In a world that breaks plans, morals, and bodies, it suggests that companionship might be the only reliable shelter. Not safety, not control, just someone willing to stay. If this documentary made the film feel quieter but deeper, if it replaced adventure with endurance, if it reminded you that survival is sometimes a shared act, subscribe for more deep-dive film documentaries that explore the emotional truths hidden beneath classic cinema. Because the most lasting stories aren't about conquering the world, they're about surviving it together.